Hot. That's a hot intro on a Monday.
There it is.
Pen drop right at the end.
Yeah. Oh man, all these lights. Can't find one that's actually.
What do you have? How many lights do you have? I have one light and window light.
I have many. I have 2 grow lights. I have 4 other lights. Let's see what this one looks like. This one even on. That one's too bright. I don't think we're gonna find it. That's okay. It's okay. We don't need one right now. What's happening, brother? All right. So, hey, give us an intro. We're here right now. It's the evening time.
Monday. So here's who we are. I don't even know if anybody's listening right now because it is so late in adult middle-aged time. The whole idea is we've been talking about the Daily Dads pretty much every day, me since June. When did you guys start that? The whole thing? April? May?
We started. It's going to be coming out. No, I think it's past. Well, the thing is that there's definitely been different, not iterations, but different kind of like areas that we focused on. We kind of have the VeeDads podcast. The VeeDads podcast is really where we're interviewing dads, just kind of one-on-one, getting the down low of kind of where they came from as a their childhood into fatherhood, where their childhood is showing up in fatherhood, and kind of. That's where I get to ask those deeper questions, which is definitely really great. But it's not really about relationships, right? And so I think that's exactly what we're just getting at here. What's up, K-Save? So being able to kind of jump over to relationships is something that I think we're really striving for, which is great. I love that. And we also have, obviously in the morning, we're talking Daily Dads, which is just like that 30 minutes. Let's wake up, get really set with our parenting, see what's going on. And then, I feel like, there was a place that I think that you were really pushing for where we can definitely talk about our partners, relationships, and how things are really getting affected.
Yeah. I think it was maybe like early November. We were reading all these things, and the book has been a really great parenting tool. And I was talking with my good friend Zach the other day on Friday, and just kind of talking about this. And it's like, we're not really like this. We're not like inventing new ways to parent. Like none of this is new, but it's all things that have happened in the past. And we're just acknowledging it and discussing how it kind of affects how we parent. And just kind of acknowledging the problems and also like the good things that come along with all that, the big mess that parenting is. And around November, I was like, these are all like once a day, I was like, this could actually kind of apply to my marriage too. Like if I was as mindful of these parenting things as I am in my marriage, what would be the result? So that's kind of where that idea came from. We are not well, Ryan, you're a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm a teacher.
But I'm not a doctor either.
So don't take any of this advice as professional, but more of how should we say, a pandering around of what can be improved in the relationship with the adult in the house that you choose to spend the rest of your life with in your partnership or marriage. As an example, so like every month is like a theme, right? So January was all about new perspectives. February, presence, and we went through work. Oh, I did not read March, April, May, June yet. So there's work, play, partnering, character, emotions, education, leadership, prudence, perspective, and then letting go. December was all about death. And that was a really weird month because I was reading about it every morning, thinking about the finality of all the things that we do. And I think that's kind of when all that kind of started kicking into the relationship aspect apart from the parenting.
Yeah.
Nice disco ball.
No, I have this light. I've just never actually taken advantage of any other settings on it. So I was trying it out. No, that's good stuff, man. Keep going. So,
yeah, go.
no, I was saying that, man, this doesn't have just a steady light.
Just keep it in clown mode. I think it's great. It's nighttime. It's Monday. Yeah, it could be rough. This is the rough time of the night when things start to fall apart with little humans.
Oh, that's the truth. There we go. A little red. After Dark. Well, yeah, nice. Man. I like it. Can I share this? So I remember when I was, I don't know, what was this? Maybe sophomore, junior, senior, probably had to be like sophomore, junior year. I always used to listen to the radio. I loved the radio. And I had
exactly where you're going with this, but keep going.
You might. And I loved listening in the evening to something called Loveline.
Yes, that was it.
Did anyone else? I'm so curious. We got some great people checking in right now. It was on C100, but I'm pretty sure it was probably licensed, or what's the other word for it, to be kind of picked up by some other radio stations. But I loved listening to Loveline, and Loveline was great. It was like promiscuous. It was definitely like there were questions that I should not have been listening to, even as like a sophomore in high school. But I loved it because it brought up syndicated. Thank you so much, K-Save. It had to be syndicated. There's no way that it was just like playing to, Northwest Jersey and New York, and that was it. But Loveline was great. I forget the guy who was. There were two guys, right? It was Dr.
Lovelines was a man and a woman, and I listened in for the exact same reason as you, for the juicy parts that I had like no experience with, but just things I was reading about or listening about. And then I think I started noticing a change more towards like relationship stuff a few years later. Hey, Hazel, how's it going?
Remember Dr. Drew? What's up, Hazel? What's going on?
Was that a doc? No, that was a TV show.
No, well, it was, but Dr. Drew, he either started here or this was part of what was going on. Hazel, I'm all red right now. How's it look?
Do you like those lights?
Yeah.
Do you know who that is?
Uncle Ryan.
Yes, it is.
Whoop, whoop.
What's your favorite about Uncle Ryan? Just amazed by the camera. So yeah, Lovelines.
Hold on. Hazel, my favorite thing about you is your confidence and knowing exactly what you want. You are a girl that's going to take on the world because you do not question what it is that you feel and think. You just make the world know it. I love that about you.
Do you agree?
What is she have alcohol in that? What's going on?
Yeah, it is 7:00, buddy. What do you think these kids go down by themselves?
Well, it better not be Canadian. I'm just kidding.
Topical.
Loveline. So Dr. Drew started on Loveline. I'm pretty sure that's what I think. And then it did become a show. But as I see here, I don't know anyone else that created this. It was up there with the Woody Show, the Howard Stern Show, News Radio, it's just naming stuff now. But yeah, nope, syndicated radio call pro. It was great. And so it definitely wasn't something where I was just looking for the juicy stuff, because I was that kind of I was always tapped. I was always in a relationship. You knew this. I was a serial dater. I couldn't find myself single for the life of me. And so I was always really trying to kind of tap in and kind of hear about what other couples were going through. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. And I'm sure that those are going to affect our kids, right? As we kind of understand how those other relationships work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I was never a serial dater. I was always a long-term dater. So when I started hearing those love lines things, I mean, it wasn't really hitting because I always imagined that people on the other line were like in their 30s and 40s. But then now, after we've passed that time, it was probably people that were not much older than us back in that time.
Sure.
So let's start off with the reading today, or let's just start off with the month of February. What's the theme for February in the Daily Dads, Ryan? You know what it is?
I don't know verbatim exactly what it is, but I do know that it is mainly about how we are showing love, how we're kind of love is showing up with our kids. And so it did bring up the topic of unconditional love with our kids. And I think that's a great spot to start, because do you think that unconditional love is something that the kids learn more from how we treat our partner? Or do you think that unconditional love is more about how they feel, even though they might not even be able to put it into words? Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's kind of where my thoughts were going to start. Is I think it's extremely easy to love kids unconditionally. I think that's just built in. Whether it's your kid or some other kid, it's well, I'll start with your kids because sometimes other people's kids are annoying. But the question that was kind of popping into my head this week with the unconditional love and conditional love is the times when conditional love shows up in marriage or with your partner, which is very easy to do. Like one thing that me and Kristen have over the years have gone back and forth on is like the way that we show appreciation for each other, or the way that we want to be appreciated. And like one of those things is like just running the household. You need two people to do it. And there's been times when I've checked out for various reasons. And then there's other times where it's like, well, why aren't we like being affectionate very much? Is because other things take that place to fill that hole. That's just one of the many examples of what could be a condition. And it doesn't mean that you might conditionally love your partner, but it might be like conditional support. And I think like kind of like the baseline is, and I've thought in this terms before. It's like, if you do this for me, I'll do that for you. Like those kind of things. And I think it's really easy to fall into that. And I think it's something that we've gotten better at. And part of it's because of the Daily Dad and kind of lessons I picked up from there. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I was trying to add a banner. So what's going on. You brought up the idea of conditional support. I thought that was definitely good. Two thoughts on that, because if I'm trying not to think so much from like the kid's perspective, but I was thinking about conditional support recently. Well, yeah, I mean, very recently, because I was sick, and usually like we usually have our own nights for bedtime, right? And so what are my nights for bedtime are Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? So I have 4 days. Lauren has 3. Lauren has Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. And so just out for the count Saturday night, just licked, just done, because I was home with DM, and she was sick. Definitely picked up from her, but Lauren picked up the bedtime, right, without even asking, or me asking, and just kind of saying that. So I thought that was an extremely beneficial thing for our family, right? But at the same time, I was thinking about other times, like, where we've done something. It's like, hey, if someone's going out to go hang out with friends, do we have to make up for the night? Do we have to step in for like the other night that we don't usually do bedtime, just to kind of balance out the week? And I was thinking that the best way that we can show love, I think, is just taking the night and being able to kind of do the bedtime, pick up the slack, whatever's going on for whatever the reason is, without expecting that there's going to be that in return to take on bedtime, one of the other nights. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it does. I'd say bedtimes are generally done together. Like there's like a one-off where like one of us just kind of in our 10% zone.
Yeah.
And then like if it's really needed, like I think I was the last one to say, or no, it was the morning after where I like acknowledged that she did it, and I tried to be thankful for it in the morning. But it's usually like we don't have like you get one night, you get the other. It's more like I have these two girls and you have the other girl.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Sometimes it's reading, sometimes it's a back scratch, sometimes I'm just like, hey kids, I'm going to bed because we are tired.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, I'm looking for some questions here around kind of like what exactly this would look like. It looks like we can easily find some of these questions, right? So something like this, I think this kind of sums up exactly what we're talking about right now, right? I'm always focused on being there for my kids, but sometimes I feel like I'm not giving my partner the same level of emotional support. How can I balance showing unconditional love to my partner while still being fully present for my kids? I think I had like a
few there.
What's that?
I said we got a few questions that are in that one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this one, yeah. I have my first thought, my feeling, but let me know. Guide this. What do you think about this question?
Let's break it down to the first part. Always focus on being there for my kids. Totally connect with that. And I also connect with not giving my partner the same level of emotional support. Maybe you just don't have it. Sometimes it's like there's days where I'm like, man, I feel like I'm really showing up for my kids. And then, that does have a battery life. I'd say maybe like the first step to that is like just acknowledging it. Acknowledging. Is that the word? Yeah. Acknowledging that it's like, you might be emotionally spent. I think that's totally human.
Mm-hmm.
And another way to maybe think about that is, if you are able to balance that, you can keep in mind that the kids also see how you balance it with your partner as well. That can be put into that little basket of being focused on your kids or teaching your kid a lesson or whatever, however you want to classify that. I think there's a lot of ways to do it. I don't think there's one right answer. Nor do I have a correct answer.
Well, hold on. I don't think there's a correct answer here. That's okay. That's what we should be talking about.
Yeah.
Brofit just made bagels. Brofit just made bagels down in Arizona. Also, Brofit.
What water are you making bagels in Arizona?
Jason, where does Uncle Jeff live? Scottsdale?
No. Mesa.
Brofit, how far is Mesa from you? Because I think we're going down there. And when are we going down there? July? The hottest part of the year.
No, I think anyway. After the 4th, I think we're going.
Yeah, we're going to be down there. Anyway, Brofit, we'll have to see how far we are from you. K-Save over here says, best advice I can give is focus on your partner first and foremost. The kiddos need to see that more than anything. Oh, nice. Brofit, pretty close.
Oh, that's close.
I have feelings. Now, help me with this, because I feel like the second part of this, first of all, I'm like, this for me. I'll speak for me. How can I balance showing unconditional love to my partner while still being fully present for my kids? That to me is like, you can do that. There's no reason why you can't do that. Like, you can totally be showing love to your partner and being fully present to your kids. I don't know. That to me is like, it's not me, I think, reacting and telling someone like, no way, you can totally do this. and you're wrong for thinking it. But it's more thinking like, no, man, like don't even think it's a possibility where you can't do both. Because I think you definitely can. Now I know that K-Save over here is saying that you should focus on your partner first and foremost. My first reaction was, I don't agree. Now, I'm not saying that I really don't agree, but that was my first thought, my first feeling.
My first reaction was, I do agree.
I love this. This is perfect.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, and maybe it's because of kind of where I've come from and my own like lived experiences, but like I tend to put my kids first with the emotions and then my partner second. Which I'm not saying is right. That could be wildly incorrect. And in fact, I would say that many times can make someone feel either jealous or upset or kind of question a lot of things too. But it's more of a kind of maybe where my connection is the most.
Mm-hmm.
That's just maybe where I am drawn to really easily. Now, I'm open to someone being like, that might not be the best way of doing this. And like, I would be really curious, like a relationship counselor, like what they would say about that. But that's my first thought. Again, I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what I do. And that's how I feel.
I think the best way to put the way that me and K-Save are thinking. Actually, wait, was I saying the opposite of K-Save? I can't remember.
Well, you said you agreed with K-Save. So you said that you believe that you should focus on your partner first and foremost.
Okay, yeah. So maybe he reworded in a more concise manner what I was thinking.
This is good. We got to get things in order.
Yeah. So I think if you, I mean, let's give this some context. Like, what's a good situation where you might have to make that decision? Are we saying like weeknight, where it's almost bedtime and energy levels all over the place? They're just fluctuating all over the place. Should we go there? Is that a good one?
See, maybe that's where I'm just having a hard time, because maybe I just have a lack of context, a lack of experience where I need to make that decision.
Okay, so let's give it that then. Let's give it through the lens of, let's just talk about.
Or K-Save, what can you also give us a thought on?
I'm thinking, so yeah, that would help.
K-Save, give us some context of what you're kind of thinking, because in my mind, if there's a moment where I have to put my partner first, okay, wait here. So recently, this is a real scenario. I'm usually
context incoming.
I'm usually thinking a little bit more on the parent side than I am on the relationship side, for better or worse, probably worse. But I don't think it's lost in anything. I think it's all beneficial. But I recently, I was facing out. We have a apartment here in New York, so it's a smaller spot. So where I'm facing out of the kitchen, over the counter, and the living room is in front of us. Sloan, my oldest, she's 8. She's sitting in front of me, and then Lauren is on the couch. And I turned to Sloan, and I've been trying to think about how to stay connected with Sloan right now, as she is very much being drawn to her friends. And so my thought was a date. Why don't I take them both out on a date, her and her close friend right now? I'll take them both out on a date, or just a meal. It doesn't have to be called a date. I don't even know how that would sound to, the other family, but just take them out, right, to dinner. And I think I did see Lauren like put her phone down and was like dismayed, because she was like, we haven't even gone out on a date in a while. So like, what you're taking our daughter out on a date for that we do. So I think that would be maybe a moment where I could possibly be putting my kids first, right, instead of my wife. And if my kids see that could obviously kind of affect them. But again, I don't want to spend so much time on the kids right now, but I think it would be good for my wife to feel that I'm definitely putting her first in some of those moments, which I'm not. And I do it because maybe, again, I mentioned, for right or wrong, for better or worse, rather, I am just drawn to parenting first and then taking on my relationship second. It's just how I've been doing it. So, it's a good wake up call if I need to change it.
Yeah, I agree. And I was in the same exact spot in the summer. Like I was really nailing like daddy-daughter dates for most of the summer. But yeah, it's I was even like going like I've been on like 3 trips out of state without Kristen or the kids in the past year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's starting to kind of feel like a deficit. Is like I think I need to make a trip for just me and Kristen. Then it's like then all of the flood of what do I do with the kids and the dogs comes after that. And I think that's my catch point with that specific situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I connect with what you're going through with Sloan and friends. We have the benefit of living a town over, so it's not a big issue yet.
You'll never see your friends.
You're trapped here. I lost my train of thought on your first topic that you brought up.
Can I bring
No,
up
I got it. Nope, I'm back.
Yeah, I'll go for it.
K-Save says if you and your partner are in tune with one another and everything will be also hard to agree. So like on those when I'm discussing these things, my context is just the day-to-day, mostly nighttime, when it's like you never get used to like the energy fluctuations will always be different with 5 humans in the house. But yeah, it's like if you think about it like a bridge, if you jump right to the kids, you're missing that middle part, and that middle part of the bridge is your partner.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have to mend that before you cross the rest of the bridge there. That's the simplest terms I can put my thoughts into right now. But yeah, that was. Thank you, K-Safe, for wording that.
I have another good question I'm going to bring up in a second because it's something that I really question. I want to bring it up, but I'm thinking about a reason why I possibly am not in this dating scenario. Date my wife right before my kids, if that's the case. But I'm thinking, okay, well, why am I not quickly drawn to that? And I never love to be told what to do. I never love to be forced to do something because I don't want something else to affect my emotions where I now need to explain it or live up to what the expectation is, right? And then it could be even the fear of failure, right? So we go out on a date and it didn't turn out the way we wanted it to be. But that's also an expectation thing, right? I think less expectations in life are probably the better way to live. But I was thinking about that. Just it feels very forced for me. It feels forced, like, okay, let's go out, let's go through the motions. And so I think that there's
can I offer what might be a thought is
exactly
after you're both spending the same energy in the same place with the same kids day after day, is what do you talk about, right? It's almost like you kind of have to save a part of you. You got to save that part of you that like wants to be with your wife or your partner, which is hard. It is, that's challenging, and I think that's something that we've both acknowledged before in the form of the roommate stage portion of marriage. Because the thing that I've recently succumbed to and accepted, that time does pass fast. I always thought that I was really good at like compartmentalizing how time passes. And in the past 6 months since I've been 44, that's all gone away, and now everything's just going rapid fast. And something that I got to remind myself is like my kids are changing, and I'm going through a lot of really nice little growth things as well. But at the same time, Kristen also is too. And there is a chance that those changes can diverge. And sometimes it does. It's like I'm in the stage where friends are getting divorced, and you kind of have to make a conscious decision to kind of change that track if you want your future to be a certain way. One thing that brought that thought up was for a fairly substantial amount of time in the past few months, I kept getting served all these posts about divorce on my social media accounts.
Go back to Casey.
and it was really depressing. It was like why am I getting all these? Is it because I'm old or middle-aged? Like to the point where I was like, I would watch some and be like, yeah, some of this applies. And I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be in that brain space. So
isn't that like this, like the story of the couple that had found out that they were pregnant after they started to get all the mailers about baby stuff, because their buying habits had led whatever algorithm to believe that they were going to get ready to have a child. And so they ended up taking a pregnancy test. They were like pregnant. They're like, oh, that must be why they were sending everything, which is kind of weird. That's like crazy to think about. But obviously, like, you're going to look at a 42, 44-year-old and assume that, like, based on the divorce rate in the country, that it's more than possible to target you and sell something. So that doesn't make sense. Before I get to this next question, though, but I want to make sure that K-Save was over here. Yeah, they're always listening, right, K-Save? But, I think the idea of the kids leaving, which is tough because you don't want to think of that right away. But I do. Like, who doesn't think about that? Obviously, we do. And then, there's this side of, well, you know what? I think we'll come back together as a couple, and we'll definitely be friends again, and we'll have that spark once the kids leave. But it's almost like you're just like waiting, like you're like rushing through everything and not like enjoying the moment, the journey, whatever it really is. But it's tough. I think that, I would probably benefit from finding a few things to, really try and connect over again. Like, it used to be running for us, and then Lauren got injured and she couldn't run anymore, and then I started to lift a bunch more, and then Lauren started to lift a bunch more, and then I got injured, and then it was like a lot of like activity, exercise kind of stuff. I think our dog was like the thing that kind of connected us for so long, and then our dog died, and then we had our kids. Now it's just the kids. So I think we've always kind of had these external, plus like Lauren is an extremely outgoing person. I'm a little bit more introspective, and I think sometimes those things don't add up, but I think sometimes it comes together as like one of the best things, actually. So
yeah, well, sometimes I think it also kind of makes up for those qualities as well. Like there's definitely times when like me and Kristen are really vibing. We're both on the same page with things. Like we've gone through like the running stage, we've gone through a first set of dogs, now we're on a second set of dogs. Fitness in general is always one thing. And then there's things that are like totally different. Just like the random interests that we follow. I try to maintain a studio habit down here, and Kristen has her own thing, not down here. So we have like our own space. And in the past, like that's been a wedge, just a physical wedge between us. So yeah, it's just like kind of I've gotten to the point where like these things have to be acknowledged, or else they grow their own roots in ways that maybe you haven't planned.
Yeah, you know what? I think the first step probably, I think, is making sure the time is set aside to come together. Because like what you're saying about separate space, I think is something good. How this is such like a mindset, growth mindset kind of thing, but it's like, whatever you schedule really is probably gonna happen what matters most. And so, but scheduling time with your wife, scheduling
well, it has
love
to have
time.
You gotta spicy time. Should we call it spicy time?
There's a child here, so just trying not to say anything crazy, but
sometimes it has to be scheduled, or else it doesn't. We've even this is an old joke from Seinfeld back in the 90s. I remember like some joke about like taking conversation notes. Like we have literally written down conversation points to bring up on our next date, which has worked. It helps because it's like, oh, we want to talk about this. Let's write it down so we remember it and discuss it without kids running around.
I feel like you're just starting some fights all the time with this. What did you say? This was your response, by the way. Remember?
This is your handwriting. You wrote it down.
Oh, I actually like that idea, though. Having like a notebook like that would actually be pretty good. Like that was a thought. That's what you wrote down. Actually, that's good. I think we've tried to have like a shared notes section before. It hasn't worked so well. Can I ask? I found a second question, and I'm curious about this because I don't know how much I believe in this or not, but I'm curious your take. Can we jump into question 2?
Let's do it.
Can I sit by you?
You want to sit by me now?
No, sit on me.
You want to sit on me? Okay.
Love languages. I don't know if I really believe in love languages. I think that someone could easily make these things up and say, hey, this is where you fit. And like, I know that my mind loves to think within buckets and categories all the time. And so it makes it easy. But do love languages actually exist? Does someone actually have a definitive love language that we can look at and understand? And,
I think it's one half marketing tool with, if you're going to draw, sit over here. Okay. I think it's one half marketing tool, one third pop psychology, and maybe a little bit of truth popped in there. I think I guess it's like an easy way to think about ways that you want to be appreciated and ways that you could show love for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll be totally honest, mine's like physical affection, and Kristen's is like acts of kindness, whatever it's considered.
Acts of service.
Acts of service. And
right.
sometimes those mesh and sometimes they don't. No, not right now, babe. Okay.
So there's 5 love languages. If no one knows, I'm just want to bring this up because this is good, and a lot of people refer back to this, and I think in times to comfort myself, I think back to it. Okay, what am I showing? What do I want in return? Those kind of things, right?
Yeah, that's where the conditions come in for me.
Yeah,
because I think it's really easy to call those conditions in which I like to be appreciated, or conditions in which I can show my appreciation or love or whatever, So like back to the point, like it's not, you don't love your partner conditionally. It's just the way in which you support them can be conditional. And those love languages, I think, are probably, as annoying as they are probably an easy way to classify those.
Yeah. I would just say, because I do want here, I want to make sure that we know what those 5 love languages are in a second. I'm going to bring them up, but I'm going to say why I've not fully connected with them is because I think that there is this like oversimplification. And I think that kind of bothers me a little bit. The fact of like, this is it, like, this is just the person. I think it comes back to me not wanting to be defined or told what to do or what to be. And that's a me issue. But I think it's an easy way to help. I think if there is a relationship, a couple that's kind of floating aimlessly, it's a great way to kind of pull it back together. And I'd be curious too how this does.
You could even compare it to like astrology, where
I think so.
It's like on any given day, if you blindly read any star sign, it's probably going to apply to you, right? It's like there's a little bit of each love language that probably applies to you. It's not all one.
Yeah, I think that's where the oversimplification comes in. It's like, you are one of these. And I don't really know if it does, if like the book, or who was the doctor, by the way? Dr. Gary Chapman. No, as far as I know. I'm seeing Dr. Gary Chapman. But is Dr. still alive? She can't be.
No.
She was so old.
Last year.
But the other thing about the love language thing is that I think I'm just big on kind of on growth and needing to have some flexibility. And so this was kind of like where I was talking previously about, I think, a partner or someone saying that like, I am the same person. I am still the person that you married. And it's like, the expectation should not be that you're the same person. We all grow and we all change. So that's what I'm trying to, like, I'm growing and changing. So I'm assuming you're growing and changing too, for the better. And I think that it's important to make sure that we kind of like grow together that way. There's no way you're the same exact person that you were before. Maybe some things about you. But I think that is like where, okay, when you're 25, one of your love languages or the love language that you defined as, I think is going to be something that should change. I think it needs to, because there's things that are going to be that are needed to be taken care of. But the 5 love languages, if you guys don't remember: words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch.
All those are good. Like, there's none that I'm gonna say I could do without. Right?
Those are, I think that's why those are the 5 love languages.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's also, it's like when you take one of those quizzes where it's like, what's your one love language? And then it tells you like it's like one. It's like, okay, I guess I'm this person. I guess whatever value I get out of it is it's more of.
I love your child taking shots in the background.
With pants on? Yes, we got pants on.
Good thing, Jay.
It's what was I saying? What was I saying, Hazel? Hazel, what was I saying about love languages?
You said you liked all of them.
Yeah.
Well, I think they all apply. And yeah, maybe they might fluctuate for sure. I think it's more of like how you. Those are very nice ways of how you can also show your appreciation, not just the type of person who you are based on what you enjoy receiving.
Yeah.
The more we talk about them, the more liquid they get, and the more I don't like them, like you.
I think the other thing too is I know my love language, as person says, and you know your love language, but you also, it's not just one. Like you as a person, you give a certain thing and then you receive it, right? So like your love language, which one is this person talking about? I'm assuming the way that they receive it. But how do you give it? If you haven't been giving it, I don't think you've been following anything with the love languages, right? Because then if you don't know the person you are and how you give things, then what was the point of you even going into all these? So that just kind of, it makes me think like you should have been doing one of these. And I hear this person's asking for help, right? That they're not paying attention to their partner's love language lately, but it's not their partner's love language. It's that you haven't been paying attention to what you should be doing. Take the accountability here, which I think they are, but it's like, it's not your partner's love language, but it should be how you give love, first of all. And then does that match up with your partner? Like there's some disconnect with accountability here, because that's just how my mind is working a little bit.
Say I would give the counterpoint to what you're saying is I think this person is doing the work and recognizing it for sure.
Yeah.
The last part there, how can you be better in tune? That's just a discussion. Like me and Kristen have had it multiple times. It's like how do you like to be loved? Like how can I show you that I love you still after this amount of years? It's just that, because sometimes you forget.
Yeah.
You know?
I really don't even know. I mean, I know what my love language is, I guess. I also maybe know, I definitely know how I give. Like I am such an acts of service person, and probably not like the best, but like I will go out of my way to clean up something, make sure something is in order, that kind of thing. I'm probably not the person who's going to go out of my way to like do something and like surprise someone that way.
Yeah. I definitely know like that's the thing. I'm the same as you there, is like I recognize that that's the most valuable one that I could do.
Mm-hmm.
So like even if like I'm not feeling it sometimes, like I recognize that is what appreciated, because we've had that discussion. Like we've literally talked about, what they appreciate.
Yeah. Yep.
Sometimes a reminder.
It definitely is a spectrum of love languages, but I think our society needs to break things down a little bit more, whether we don't give enough time to, understanding kind of where on the spectrum, or we just don't, like, we are, even as I read through X and look at things like politically, like people end up being completely absolute in their thinking. You don't see many people, at least highlighted, that are thinking, okay, well, yeah, there are some good and some bad in terms of what was said or done. And no one is kind of like, it's it's almost like the idea of if you find yourself on the spectrum, that means that you're on the fence, and being on the fence is bad. It's almost like you got to decide. It's like, well, wait a second. Just because I'm in the middle doesn't mean I'm on a fence. It's almost like you have to redefine what a fence is, or what the middle is, rather.
I think one thing to recognize is for every strong opinion you read, there's 1,000 other people considering things even-minded that just don't say anything, which is like, I also hate absolutes, which is why I don't often jump into those, because it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. It usually blows up in your face one way or another.
Yeah, no, it's the truth. And you know what? I do believe that purple is the best. It's just hard to describe purple. And people don't like not being able to describe or define something, I think, most of the time, especially when it comes to them. And I think that people like to argue, and they can't argue purple, but they can argue blue, and they can argue red a lot easier. Because people are emotional and they say things and they don't know how to control themselves. That happens a lot. Yep. I think I'm getting down to.
I got 5 minutes. Then we got bedtime.
No, it's all good. What I wanted to figure out is, I think I'm very aware at this point that the way that I like to give love, which is acts of service most of the time, and it's unfair for me to want my partner to accept those and see those, because she doesn't as much. And like, one example is this, like, I always think that like an act of service is making sure that like the kitchen is clean. And that's like what I used to like focus on. That was my focus. Clean the kitchen, clean the kitchen, clean the kitchen. Next, go to the living room. Right. And so I remember at some point I was like, she's not even noticing I clean the kitchen. Like, she's still saying things are a mess. I'm like, I just made this kitchen spotless. But I think it was brought up one time and she said, yeah, you know what? In her mind, she was like, the living room matters so much more. The kitchen doesn't matter. And so I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So, in my mind, I get defensive. I'm like, what the hell? I think the kitchen is more important. But that was a good realization to me, that it was like, okay, well, stop cleaning the kitchen, just give up. So I did. I just stopped cleaning anything. I'm just kidding. But it made me just realize that, like, okay, it's not up to me what I think is most important. But if I'm cleaning to clean. But if you're cleaning to show love, then that's where the decision needs to be, where to start and where to make sure that things are really put together, right?
I would stick with your first part, that to clean just to clean is a healthy mindset. I think if you're doing something like that benefits the entire family, and your main drive is trying to get recognition for it, I think that is going to end in dissatisfaction.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with you. I think that there are like the expectation when one person is doing bedtime, the other person is one that cleans out the kitchen. And so it's like, oh, I really want to impress that person. I really want to impress my partner. I want to make them feel like it is, or it's just,
I'm not going to take my clothes off. I mean, if I want like immediate gratification, I'll just do that.
But is that how your partner accepts it?
No.
Then you just stand there naked, the dirty kitchen.
And the kids are like, Dad, what are you doing?
That's what happens when we take edibles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I got these edibles from Colorado when I was out there. I didn't do any drugs in my life ever. And I think when I keep talking to edibles, people are like, it's not really a drug. I'm like, I think it is. But I've been taking them for sleep, and it's been really good. But I've been having it more and more. Well,
throughout the day, are you getting the day creep where you just keep
taking
it earlier? Then all of a sudden, like, what happens if I take it at 9 a.m?
That's been my thing. I was like, it depends when I take it. And I did. There was one day I took it like just before I put the girls to bed. I knew it wasn't going to kick in for a bit. But it was something where I was like, okay. But I think it does help me definitely sleep better. But I'm a different person at night. But it also affects my morning as much. So I don't know if I like it. But,
yeah, I wake up harder. I remember one time I did before bedtime, and I think I gave each kid like a half an hour back scratch.
Oh, nice.
Just sitting there. I've stopped taking them because I found another more positive alternative to what I was after. Just kind of brain fog and all that.
Are we getting to a kratom discussion?
No, not that.
All
That
right.
was kind of a dead end, but no, it wasn't, because it led to my current stack, which has been nice. I already think
build a stack. You using steroids right now? What's going on?
Is that what a stack means when people say stack?
Most of the time, at least in my
I
world.
always thought it was just stack means like the supplements you take in the morning.
No, it could. I just know that a lot of bodybuilders that are usually taking some sort of steroid regimen, they always call it a stack. So
That's not what I mean.
Not as fun. All right. Well, I know you got to go. How do you feel?
It was good. I enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it?
Enjoyed it, man. Yeah. I really enjoy questions to answer and just get people's perspective on something and then break it down. And that's what we got. So
yeah,
you can find these questions anywhere. Reddit is here. You can find whatever you need to. So it's good.
Yeah. Well, a big thanks to everybody listening in tonight. We've got 35 people listening. Hopefully this maybe generated some questions for you. Remember, we're not doctors. We're not marriage counselors. We're just two dudes who happen to be dads, who happen to be brothers, who kind of connect them all together.
That's what it is. And we'll be back tomorrow morning. All right, guys. Love you. We're going to get some sleep.
Been online 3 times today.
I got to take my edible.
Okay.
See you soon.
Good night.
Bye.